So I appreciate you all coming on board here for a few minutes, and it's kind of a round table, round robin, whatever you want to talk about, other than there are a couple things I do want to hit on, because like I said, I had some folks call, hey, I couldn't make your meetup, but they want to make sure they get some information, and that is this conversion to the all electronic filing of postage statements in January, and what that means for some newspapers. I had a couple newspapers call me this week and said their postmasters said, oh, you got to do it right now. You got to start now. And I said, no, it's the deadline. I mean, his start date is January 28th, 2024. So it's got to happen then, but it doesn't have to happen before then. So in case anyone's confused out there. But Leanne, you had done it a week or so ago, right? Made the
I've
switch.
got it done. Yep.
And it went okay?
Yeah, once I got on the right track, the post office numbers that I gave you, they've been really helpful, which was quite shocking.
those contacts, postal
Right.
contacts? Yeah.
Because I think most of the local postmasters, they're just getting emails saying, tell your newspapers to get this done, but they don't have any idea how to do it either. So you really have to almost call out to your regional.
Yeah.
Those regional numbers. And I think I told you this, the main thing was every newspaper has a CRID number, and I didn't know that. So I was creating a new one, and then I wasn't finding anything correlating. And then once I found out that I already had these, and you just have to go to your postmaster and find out what that CRID number is, then it went really easy. So
what's that number called? What do you call it?
It's a CRID.
CRID.
I don't know what that stands for, but
the postmaster should have that information.
Yeah, and it was actually on one of the receipts that they give me every week. I just never noticed it. So and then after that, I mean, one of the people kind of went through some steps with me, and we got it figured out pretty quickly. So I don't know. I mean, if people want to know, they can call me. It's kind of hard to explain it on the meeting, but.
And you shared the information. You had some of those files, including a PowerPoint and some of the sheet that shows the contact information for various postal officials. I think one's in Omaha and some are in Des Moines, Iowa. So what I've done is I've put that information in a Dropbox folder, and I'm going to share that with everyone, put that back out there so everyone can have access to that, particularly those phone numbers. Like I said, you found helpful to have someone to talk to, because it looked like these were folks who were standing by ready to help if called upon. So yeah.
And once I got it, once I got where I needed to be, it was really just plugging in your numbers, and it calculates it all. And to be honest, I think it's going to be really easier for me in the long run. So it's not a bad idea, but
so for anyone who, for instance, if you're working with Interlink and you're using their software to create your labels and your mailing statements each week, that should be able to be done through Interlink, right? I mean, my understanding is if you're working with a software vendor already on your mailing, they should have the ability to do that.
And I don't know that. I don't use Interlink. I just
so this is just for everyone. And I know we have a lot of folks who still do manual postage statements each week, where they fill it out, take it back, take it down to the post office, and so forth. So a couple of people I want to coming in here, so including ML at Flandreau, because I know she had some questions about this. So yeah, anyone who is currently doing it manually, filing that postage statement, or we'll have to make the conversion. If you're working with a computer vendor on this, software vendor such as Interlink, or if your central printing plant handles your mailing for you, check with them. They may be able to accommodate this for you as well. Molly, what do you do in Gettysburg?
All of ours is done through the office in Woolbridge, and they use Interlink.
Okay, all right.
So we've been doing the electronic filing for a while now.
Jeremy, good morning.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. So my question for you is, does Rocket Printing handle all your mailing statements?
Yes,
Or you-
they email copies to the post office, but I also have to sign. I mean, the signature has been required, correct?
Well, they're no longer requiring the markup of the ad percentage paper. And I've done it 2 weeks and they haven't made me actually manually sign it.
Okay.
So I don't know. It might depend on your postmaster too.
So you don't have to, they changed that a few years ago. You do not have to mark the paper. Is that right?
Well, they didn't tell me that.
Yes,
No, I
there,
think-
there was a
I-
change, and I don't know exactly when, but you're right, where you are not required to present a marked up copy each week.
Right.
Um,
But you obviously still have to figure out your advertising percentage.
correct.
you
You,
still
you
do.
are, they ask you to compute it, but you don't have to present that markup copy each week.
Right,
physically.
okay.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Although I know some newspapers still do that each week. I know that's what
I have been out of habit, but it's a pain in the butt, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, but like I said, you still, I think, are required to compute that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so.
What are
um,
you listening to?
Moody County Enterprises on the line. Any questions there? Is this Mary Lynn, perhaps? I think maybe she's on mute here. Anyway, just to reiterate, I have created a Dropbox folder with some really helpful information from the Postal Service on this process.
This is Kayla with Moody County.
Hi, Kayla. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Sorry, I'm in the car too. Crazy morning.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We were just talking about moving to all electronic postage statements and what's the process there a little bit. I know Mary Lynn had called me the other day asking about that.
Yep.
So anyway, we will share the files that Leanne had provided me that come from the Postal Service, including one sheet that has got some contact information, people you can call in the Postal Service who are, I think, really helpful or standing by to help if you have questions about getting this done and need to help walk through this. So we'll provide that information to all members here today. We'll get that information out so you can download those presentations from the Dropbox and take a look at that. So I know some folks have said that, hey, they're just going to wait till after the first year to take a look at this just because it's busy right now. And I understand that, but I think it's just obviously something everyone needs to be aware of and be working on and get ready for, because January 28th will be here before you know it. So, and speaking of January, so as long as we're not talking about coming deadlines, just a reminder that January 19th is the deadline to enter the contest, SDNA contest. Friday, January 19th. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. So FYI there. So, okay. Any other questions on the postal thing?
Dave, on that contest, is there online or we're not in there yet?
So good question. You are eligible to participate in the contest, Bart, this year. And because as you were a full member, and the categories for the contest have not changed much. They're very similar basically to what they've been for the past several years. Just because I sort of feel this is kind of a transition period. We've got folks such as Newswatch and Dakota Scout and Searchlight and others coming on board. And I think what's going to happen is this coming year, next year, we're going to have to look at kind of a redo and kind of a retake on some of the categories for the contest. But for right now, they're still, kind of standalone, best news story, best feature writing, best series kind of things, standard categories you always see. But you're eligible to enter those, Bart, as well. So, and you will be competing basically in the dailies category is where you'll end up at circulation group. So
Large daily?
actually, it's just all one dailies
Oh,
group now.
okay.
It's all been morphed into one category. So yeah, one division. So yeah, but
Right, thank you.
yeah, no, looking forward to that. It'll be good to have that participation in the contest. Don't clean up everything, but you do want to hopefully see some participation there. So it'll be good. So Well, listen, let me then just segue real quick to a couple legislative topics that I want to touch on and update folks on that we've been working on. Because session starts in about a month. January 9th is the first day of the 2024 session. Hard to believe, but it'll be here quickly. So two things I want to hit on issue-wise that we're working on. One is legislation that redefines or amends the laws defining what is a legal newspaper in South Dakota. And as all of you know, this stems from the legislation we fought this past year regarding the efforts to redefine the legal newspaper laws in South Dakota. And that bill went down, and as a result of that, we said, look, we'll work on this in the interim, which we've done. And so now we're at the point, SDNA is, in working with Dakota Scout and their attorneys, we've come to, I think, a good compromise, a piece of legislation that we've all signed off on, SDNA and Dakota Scout, working with Senator David Wheeler in Huron to have him sponsor this bill in January. And I think we're comfortable with it. Dakota Scout's comfortable with it. I think it'll work well for everyone in terms of how we've ended with amended legislation here. So we're looking forward to getting that introduced, and hopefully can get that to move through the process without any problems, which is never really the case. It seems like in here, but we'll see. But anyway, we do basically in the legislation now would allow for certain free distribution newspapers to be considered a legal newspaper in South Dakota. It does not change any of the laws that define how you operate right now as a legal newspaper. That all stays in place, but it basically, in essence, creates this new definition for a free distribution newspaper, provided it meets certain standards and certain criteria to qualify as a legal newspaper. And that would include a newspaper such as Dakota Scout in Sioux Falls. So if this were to pass, so we'll see. You know, that's it. I'm hopeful that we can get it done, but just because I think, you know, everyone involved so far is okay with it, but who knows what the other 104 legislators beyond Senator David Wheeler will think about it, and we'll have to figure that out. So we'll go from there. So, and then the other issue I want to bring up is, this is just kind of emerged here this late this fall, is current law says that the State Bureau of Administration is responsible for holding a hearing annually and determining what the rates shall be for publication of public notices. In other words, it's an administrative rules process through the Bureau of Administration to determine what those rates will be. And you're all very aware that we try to go through that process annually, and it doesn't always work annually, but where we try to get this adjustment in rates done through the administrative rules process. And that's been in place since 1989 when that law changed. Now we've learned that the Bureau of Administration intends to bring legislation that would revert the whole process back to the legislature, take them out of the picture. Because as the Bureau of Administration Commissioner told me in a phone call a few weeks ago, he doesn't understand why they ever got involved in the process, or why they should be involved in the process, and therefore they don't want to be involved in the process. So the board met electronically here a few weeks ago. We discussed this, and the recommendation coming from myself, as well as from Justin Smith, as well as kind of the conversation we had among board members about this, is this legislation would not be a good deal. I mean, this would not be a good thing to revert the whole process back to the legislature, because then you're at the mercy of 105 in terms of determining what those rates may or shall be. And that, excuse me, and you can understand how well that may go or not go. And so our position right now is that we would oppose that legislation if it's presented by the Bureau of Administration in January. Have not heard anything further about that. More, I've been reaching out to a few folks in state government, trying to learn more about that legislation. The commissioner told me he would share with me the draft once he had it ready to go, and I've not heard back from him yet, so still waiting there. But anyway, I just sort of stay tuned and be ready for what could be a battle there on that front in terms of what proceeds. So I don't know.
Dave?
Yeah.
What's your gut? I mean, do you think you think that legislation is gonna get introduced?
My gut is, I think the legislation will get introduced, and right now my gut is that we can kill the bill. We could probably defeat the bill. But that being said, and we've talked, we being Justin, myself, and the board is, I think we also have to be open to, okay, if this bill gets introduced and gets debated and it's out there, could it present an opportunity to do something with the rates through that bill? I mean, look, we all know the last few years we've got nothing done on rates adjustment. It's been, hard to get any movement, to get the administration to respond or move on this. So would this legislation, albeit we don't like it, present an opening, a wedge for us to maybe get something done? And that's sort of something we are kind of keeping in our back pocket or in the back of our mind here as this proceeds, because there may be an opportunity here along the way too. I mean, in terms of, yes, this is a bill we don't like. Right now, we think we'd like to see it be defeated, but also maybe it opens the door to something else we're not quite aware of yet. So sort of like stay tuned, and see how this kind of plays out, and be aware that if we see an opportunity to move something forward in terms of, let's say, get a rate increase done through this legislation, or go back to this idea we put out on the table a few years ago, where just make that rate adjustment happen annually, without any administrative rules process involved. Where it'd be, as we proposed 2 years ago, 2% annually, or the rate of inflation, whichever is less, just a modest increase that would happen, a cost of living type thing. If we could implement that, that would be great. But again, stay tuned. We don't know if that's going to be possible. So
Why, after 35 years, has this department decided they don't want it anymore?
Well, I think it's, when the commissioner told me, he says, I don't understand why we're involved in this. I mean, it's reasonable coming from him after I thought about it, because number one, he's new to the position as Bureau Commissioner. He just started this summer in that position. And years ago, when it was put under the Bureau of Administration, they had a office of printing, because the Bureau of Administration was responsible for all the printing, procurement, and getting printing done for state government. And they had a director of printing. And so when the legislation was done in 1989, they said, look, let's let that director of printing handle this. Well, over time, as you can imagine, the director of printing went away. Mm-hmm. And because, just the way things are out there. So they no longer have a director of printing in the Bureau of Administration. And so I think they're kind of scratching their heads saying, why was it ever under our jurisdiction? And we've tried to explain that a little bit to them, but there again, I mean, it's like, okay, if it's not the Bureau of Administration, maybe there's another department or agency that would be better suited to handle this administrative rules process. We'd be open to that discussion too, but simply to say we're going to take it out of administrative rules and throw it back to the legislature and let them deal with this every year would be a mistake, and that's what we don't want to see happen. So. Questions or comments on any of that? So those are really right now the two biggie things. I will tell you also, the governor's budget address this week, she made reference to working with the state treasurer to bring legislation that would modernize or update the state treasurer's marketing work on the unclaimed property, which sort of kind of raises a little bit of a flag, because right now there's a law that says the state treasurer annually shall advertise unclaimed property in newspapers, at least one newspaper in every county in the state. And so they do that each year. And for instance, this year they spent about $28,000 in newspaper advertising to do that. And so we're just going to be a little leery of that, because we want to make sure that that stays in place and that they don't want to come in with something that would eliminate that requirement. So we'll see. So, but something to watch anyway. So. And then the final thing legislatively is just the fact that, when most of you know this, some of you know this, is newspaper day will be Thursday, February 1st in Pierre. Excuse me. So hopefully many of you, all of you can make it. Looking forward to it. A change this year will be the fact that our luncheon with legislators will be in the Capitol Rotunda. And looking forward to that. I think that'll be a good thing, because it'll be right there in the Capitol. So that'll be good. That'll be good to do. So Thursday, February 1st. All right, listen, so what else? That's all I have right now. Open it up. What else? What do we know? What's going on?
Dave, one thing I would share, I don't think it affects you guys as much as us, but there are a new series of bots out there that are looking for inappropriate use of copyrighted material, and they are charging fees. So we had to pay. We used an AP photo from one of the media partners on our website. I think we had to pay $300, and Kello was fighting off like a $700 charge for a Shutterstock image that we had used. I don't typically send those to the partners, but they pulled it from the website. Anyway, just be careful when you're reusing photos these days, because this is a new effort, and I'm seeing a lot of on a listserv I'm on, papers are out of the blue. They're having to pay hundreds of dollars. So if you reuse material, just be a little more careful, because it's not sliding by like it used to.
Right, and that brings up a really good point, because we had a member newspaper about a year or so ago, Bart, that had to pay a couple $1,000s for misuse of an image that they had pulled off the internet, and it was a copyrighted photo. And lo and behold, a letter shows up from a legal firm in Canada, saying, "Hey, look, you need to pay us for this." And at first they thought it was a joke. And I said, when they shared it with me, I said, "No, this is not a joke. This is legit. And you need to be aware of it." So I think it was like $2,000 they ended up paying to settle that. So yeah, be very careful using any material, images, text, graphics that come from the internet. Just make sure that you have the right to publish or reuse that work, because it's a challenge, and it's easy to do, and you can get caught. So
sort of along those lines, this is something that I've always wondered about, and maybe this is a session for newspaper convention sometime, but use of social media images by newspapers, are they fair game or not? And if you're using them, what sort of attribution needs to be assigned?
You mean when you say social media images, things that me just run across on Facebook or X or something, or linked or? Yeah.
So let's say I'm reporting on State Oral Interp, and I don't have a photo of a particular student, but her mom, that student's mom does, and she posted it on Facebook. Can I just grab it and use it?
No, I mean, not without my short answer is not without permission. I mean, regardless of the fact that it's on Facebook or it's, that a social media platform, still be very careful and still make sure that you do have permission to use it, explicit permission, and permission that's in writing of some sort to do so.
There's been a mix of court rulings on that. If the person has their Facebook designation as public, they have less of a right to that. There's questions around that, but I think Dave's overall feeling or vibe is right to be careful. But in getting it in writing, I mean, sometimes I just call and ask like a business, hey, I see your owner standing out front there. Can we use that? You think you need that in writing, Dave?
I still recommend, you know, an email or something that's, you can, a paper trail that you can create for that, Bart. I would still say that's best. Again, I understand what you're saying. You're on the fly. You're just trying to get permission via phone call. And if that's your best thing to go on, great. But if you can get something in documented, that's very helpful. Just because a year later someone comes and say, hey, what happened here? Well, at least you have something you can, you know, prove, demonstrate on record. So,
And ethically, I never would take something without permission, but I'm just wondering legally.
yeah, and Bart's correct about, you know, depending how someone has their Facebook page marked as for public use and support, there is, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still very much the wild west in terms of when it comes to copyright on the internet, and you have to be very careful when you're republishing or taking content that ends up in your commercial product for, you know, for commercial use. That's at the same time, the very thing happens, you know, I mean, it's in reverse as well. Everything you publish using your product and on your social media platforms, you know, you have copyright and ownership to that too. And hopefully folks are asking you for permission then to do the same. So
I think where it can get dicey is, say you're writing about daycares and the daycare has images of people on there and they say, well, we're okay with you using those. And then the parent sees it and says, no way.
yeah.
I think it's just, and I think you know this, Jeremy, this is a headache you don't want to create for yourself. So I think the safe rather than sorry is always better. But you know, then there are some groups where they have releases signed and everything's cool. But yeah, I think that's Dave, or maybe I need to be more diligent about getting written permission, even in an email.
And, you know, when it comes to protecting your own copyright and the work that you produce and publish, the really big emerging topic out there is the use of AI bots who are pulling you in your content to generate AI content on their own, but it's benefiting from your from what you've done, your work, without your permission. And that's a whole nother mess and legal area that is yet to be defined, and who knows where that'll go. But that's a big emerging topic too, with AI that's trolling and using content that they take from the Freeman Courier and use it to generate their own content. So, yeah.
So Bart, if you're sending out an image from Shutterstock to your media partners, you know, and we credit Shutterstock, it goes with the story you put out. Is it a specific license you need to buy to be able to share it and be published in multiple publications? Like, do you have to purchase it a certain way from Shutterstock? I guess I'm just kind of wondering how that part works.
Yeah. No, thanks, Christy. That came up in the Kello situation because Kello didn't want it, and they were asking for quite a bit there. I think that was $2 or $3 grand or something. We don't send out the Shutterstock images. Now, I went back and looked and kind of did sort of a snapshot look over the 5 years. And I think there have been a couple times. Usually I wouldn't send them prior to any knowledge about this because the files were massive and it would slow down the sharing. And I don't even know if people could download them. But first of all, we will never send out a Shutterstock image again now that we know that this could be an issue. But no, you don't have permission. So we pay a monthly fee to have access to those, and that's the limited use. So what happened with that was I was able to go back and look. Kello stripped it right off our website and republished the Shutterstock image. So I had not sent that out. But now we know, and you'll never see those again in our package. But because you can always take our stuff off the website, but don't take the photos off because this thing is out there now. These are just bots looking for this. And it was a Shutterstock photo that Kello used, and that was a problem. So no, we won't send those out, but don't peel those off our site. And that's kind of one of the reasons I want to make that known. We don't use them as much as we used to, but yeah, no, you do not have permission.
But
So
if you're buying a Shutterstock image, which you have to use, are you not buying the right to distribute it?
to distribute it, but not for reuse by another media publication. So
Okay.
we're fine to distribute it. We can send it to you guys without, other than our commitment to not setting you up for a problem. But yeah, we can send it out, but you got, anyone else who reuses it for an institution or an entity that can make a profit off it, then you would have to pay for that. But yeah, once we pay for it, then the watermark comes off. But that's something that's up to Carson to handle that kind of stuff now. But I'm trying to get the word out. Don't peel those off of there, and don't reuse those. And that's good to know, not just with us, but anywhere you might see a stock image. They're not, somebody shot that and put it on there and all that. So,
Dave, I think we need a session on image use at convention.
Yeah, no, and that's a good reminder, because like I said, when one of our members went through this a couple years ago with the hefty fine they had to pay, and at the time we said, oh, look, this needs to be a session, and we never got back to it. But I've written this down because I do believe this is something that we need to pay close attention to, and particularly when you talk about the bots that are out there that trolling and looking for this stuff, it's easy for them to find. So and there literally there are entities that's all they do, is they work on behalf of Reuters or even the AP and so forth, and they're just searching the internet for misuse of this, and then boom, all of a sudden a little letter shows up asking for you to write a check. So
yeah,
Um,
because real quickly, for example, I did this thing on Native mentoring program, and I was told that the kids had all signed releases with the Native charter school, or whatever you want to call it. And I just wonder, well, what if a mom called and said, boy, oh boy, I didn't sign on for that. I don't want to have to deal with that. And I certainly don't want to be in a position where I feel like a jerk because we've published a picture of a kid online and then it appeared in all the papers. So there's more to know here. I agree that it's but this idea of them out there hunting for it, that I think puts a new urgency on it.
I guess what I was gonna say is, I know a lot of graphic designers doing ads, grabbing some random artwork to, design an ad. Is that being searched too? I guess probably, right?
I think so. I think it it's not just photos. I think it can apply to graphic images and logos, and I've seen, not locally, but I've seen where it also word content. Parts of a story that have been misappropriated for republication, and that's been flagged by these bots as well. So it can apply to about anything. Yeah.
I agree with Jeremy. I think we should do a session on that at convention.
We just need a legal expert to lead us on that. But Bart, you're it.
I'd be willing to help, but
No.
it's
it'd be very beneficial. It's a good topic, definitely. So yeah.
I would hate to give someone the wrong advice, Dave.
Yeah, no, I know, I hear you. No, but what else?
Just an update on what's happening in Freeman here. I don't know how many of you are aware that I was an eyelash away from reducing my print circulation to monthly, and dialed that back largely based on a conversation I had with a reader who came in and just was talking to me about the industry, and I was telling to him about the postage woes and increases and all that, and he said just pass that on to your readers, just ask them to pay more, ask them to subsidize the postage. He said everybody gets postage, everybody understands postage, it'll make sense to people. So don't just increase your rates, say why you're increasing your rates. I'm asking you, if you want to continue to get the newspaper in print, you have to pay for your own postage. So I doubled my rates from $100 to $200 a year. And I wrote a letter and I put it on the front page of the paper about a month ago, explaining exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Almost universal support for that decision. People they get it. They get it when you put it in those terms. You know, you see a lot of newspapers some of the larger newspapers are doing fundraisers, help save the paper. And it's working. They're generating some additional revenue there through donations. But I think the approach that I've taken is a little bit more, I don't want to say genuine, but transparent perhaps. And I've been overwhelmed with the positive response I've received.
Thanks for sharing that, Jeremy. I read your letter. It was excellent. And I was wondering too, if maybe even partnering with somebody to talk about, like at convention, to do a session and be able to really talk about, I mean, I think Dave and I had talked about too, for convention, taking a look at what it really costs to send your paper out and really realizing I'm losing money every week. But then I guess part two of that is what to do about it. And I think your example would be really powerful. If you'd be willing to.
I'd be happy to. I'd love to. I mean, it's just it actually has created some new energy for me. And that feels good to me. The other thing, there is a little bit of grumbling here and there. I just had somebody in the office yesterday said, "Are you really going to 200?" And I said, "Yes." And they kind of complained about it. And I said, "It's less than $4 a week. How much do you spend at Starbucks a day?" And
Exactly.
I think if you can frame it in those terms and really educate people, I think it's a good thing.
That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear the response. I was curious how that was going,
Yeah.
Jamie. So that's good.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what postage rates are doing. I mean, they're going to take the bump again here in January, right after the first of the year, and then probably again in mid-year. I mean, they're up 40% in the last 3 years. Postage rates have gone up 40%. I mean, it's incredible, the spikes, and it's just not sustainable in the long run. That, along with printing costs that have, obviously been going up and up too. So, two huge cost drivers, and yeah.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Bart.
Good to see you all virtually.
see you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Keep up the good
Yeah, Bart.
work. On the flip side, Christy, I just wanted to ask you, but I saw you did a few weeks ago on Facebook, a Facebook Live with one of your Main Street businesses. I was doing an open house, I think a holiday open house, and then you did just basically a live stream for a few minutes on Facebook with that person, correct? Is that right? And can you?
Yeah, I did. It was kind of an add-on to a print and digital ad package I've been doing lately. So it's a holiday open house. They turn off all the house lights and turn on all the twinkle lights for a giftware florist here in town. And, right now I've just been kind of adding on a Facebook Live for $25 along with, a print ad and a digital ad. And it's been really kind of taken off. I'm going to the community choir on Friday as they're doing their rehearsal and to encourage folks to come. People have been liking it. I don't know if I'm not charging enough, $25, but it's a couple minutes. You go there, do a Facebook Live, sort of a little interview, and it's been getting really good results. So I guess it's just another way to benefit our advertisers and be everywhere, seemingly. So, yeah, I mean, it was really successful, and a lot of people gave my advertiser that feedback that they, saw it on Facebook Live. I saw the Facebook Live, and that's why they were there. So it's
a great idea, Christy.
Thanks. But I've just been doing it as a package, right? They still have to buy a print ad, they still have to buy a digital ad. And then they get the option of the $25 Facebook Live, and hopefully it gets really successful, and I can raise that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you
Great.
for sharing that. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, that's a good add-on. That's a good little incremental revenue booster too. So there's nothing wrong with that. So all good.
You know, and I think it's one of those things too, is that as editors and publishers, and reporters, we're visible, but then again, we're not, as the person. So I think that in a way it kind of, adds to our cred a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. Just to be there and be visible as a person as well, instead of just our written work.
That's good. All good. Jennifer, welcome. I didn't get a chance to say hi. Good to have you on board. How are you?
Been busy. I just lost my employee of 2 years, so I am now training a new employee, and they're going to be gone for a week right now. And I'm busy doing my Christmas and New Year's ads right now too.
Oh
So,
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so yeah, it's been busy. Plus, I have a junior in high school and then a second grader, so they're keeping me busy too with all the activities. But that's the life. But
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on board. Is there anything particular I know you came on a little bit later, you want to ask about or
well, I know that like Jeremy is from Freeman and stuff, and I mean, we only have 700 people in Fulton, but one thing that I know with all of us small newspapers and stuff, I don't know if I emailed you a while back, and out of all the newspapers in South Dakota, there's like only 15 of us that are over 140 years old.
is that right? Is that what it is?
I'm still trying to do all the research, and I don't know how many years everybody's been, but I'm at 42 right now. I'll be starting 143 in January, and I know Highmore and Clark are right in that territory too. And I don't know who else is, in that territory, but I know there's a lot that are over 130 and stuff. So I think that's one thing that we really need to push is, how long all of us have been really pushing to help our communities out and things like that. So
I know, and I think sometimes we take all that for granted, right? So, I mean, just that we've been there forever,
right.
And sometimes I think even, the community maybe takes it a little bit for granted until something happens, where you just like Jeremy in this fall in terms of kind of putting it out there saying, look, this something needs to change in order to be sustainable going forward and then to get people's attention on that. So I think that, like I say, I think we do need to continuing look to tell that story fresh about the fact that we've been there along the way with the community since the beginning. I mean, it's just an incredible thing. You think about
right.
it.
I like Christy's idea about the whole Facebook Live thing, but I don't have time right now.
Yeah, I know. It's
But,
all about time.
and that's the other thing is some of my people are more about the Facebook Live, so they don't even want to try to do, because I tell them I can put it on Facebook. I can put the ad on Facebook if they want to advertise with me and stuff, but I have certain people that they pay people to put it all on Facebook for them, so they don't want to advertise with me. So there's a trouble that I have sometimes. And so it's like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I can get them to advertise with me, plus put it on social media with their social media helper and stuff like that. So that's where I find my trouble. And I'm an old soul. My mom tells me that all the time. And I know I'm probably one of the younger ones that is owner publisher of one of the newspapers, but I have the older generation coming in and saying, well, why wasn't this in the paper, or why wasn't that in the paper? And I'm like, well, I didn't get told about it, so I couldn't put in the paper. And they're like, well, somebody told me that they found it on Facebook. I'm like, you guys got to tell those people they need to put it in the paper. So
one of the biggest challenges that we have as an industry right now, and it's always been this way, but especially now, is we have to be all things to all people. And that is virtually impossible to do. I mean, with all the platforms out there between e-editions and social media and push notifications and traditional websites and print product, it's hard. That's a hard sea to row.
Well, thank goodness I have Jim and Jody and Garrick and Val Ramsdale to all kind of call so I can get some advice. And then I have all you guys too. So
Well, thank you.
I've only owned the record office for 3 years, and I started helping Val when she took it over from Jim and Jody. So I've been here 8 years now. It's a little over 8 years now. So I'm enjoying it, loving it. And I mean, these meetups that you guys have, I absolutely enjoy, because then I kind of write my own little notes down once in a while after you guys send me the recordings and stuff. And I try to do my best. So, and I've gotten compliments on the newspaper, so that makes me feel good too. So
Good for you.
Keep up the good work. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, the record is the original social media platform in Fulton, Jennifer. That's what it is. So, I mean,
yep.
yeah.
It's hard because I keep trying to say in 8 years, we're going to be celebrating 150 years right alongside Fulton celebrating their 150 years. And, you know, that's a big thing. And it's like, I have big shoes to fill with Jim being part of it and everything else. And so it's like, I got big shoes to really fill. So I'm trying to make sure that I cover everything and do as much as possible to help people out and to get the news out there and stuff. And right now I'm working with the school, because the school took over the yearbook, because they're going to go with Jostens to print now, even though they were printing with us the last 20 years, but they went with Jostens this year. And the journalism teacher is actually having the kids write the sports articles. So I don't need a sports writer or anything, because I'm still trying to figure out how to write sports articles and stuff, because again, I'm still new at this. And so I'm having the kids write them, and their names are in the paper. And it's been having a lot of fun, you know, getting the kids to write the stories for all the sports and stuff. So I still have to put the stats in it, but that's okay.
Dave, put a
Yes.
pin in that. What a great marketing campaign for SDNA in 2024. Look at how long we have been around. Get some hard numbers together. Oldest newspapers. How many 140-year newspapers do we have? How many 130? And put that together in, I mean, context.
So for, convention in Huron, that'd be a great thing, Christy, right? I mean, because we talk about the roots of our association date to Huron. That's where the association started 140 plus years ago. We're in Huron. So the Huron convention would be a great time to do. And there was a book that was done during the centennial of our association in 1982, written by an author named Bob Carlevitz. And in that book, it has the brief history of every newspaper in South Dakota, including when they started. So we have that information in terms of the start dates of those newspapers. So that would be good to have. So it'd be a parade of longevity we could have in the convention. So it'd be pretty awesome.
And call the campaign. You said it earlier, the original social media.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
What it is. Yeah. Well, listen, we're coming up on an hour, and we try to keep these kind of tight so we can, particularly when we share the recordings and so forth, so they don't get too long. But this has been really, really good. I appreciate you all joining in. And as I said, we'll follow up. We'll share the postal information here following later today. We'll get that out regarding the switch to all electronic postage statements in January. So look for that. And I hope you all have all the best for the holidays. And thank you for joining in here. Anything, last words at all from anyone?
Keep Freeman in mind. We lost a senior to a car accident on Saturday, and we got a really tough funeral tomorrow afternoon at the gym.
Our hearts go out. Yeah.
Keep
For
Freeman in mind.
a daughter of someone who worked for you, right?
Yeah,
Jim?
my graphic designer's daughter, 17-year-old daughter.
Yeah. It's awful. Awful.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, prayers
Yeah,
go out there.
keep Freeman in mind.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Yeah, you guys too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.